Dan Illman and Mike Beer with the kickoff leg of an all-stakes pick 5 at Keeneland on Bluegrass Saturday. Race number 5 is the Grade 3 Commonwealth, some nice older sprinters going 7/8 of a mile. Let's take a look at this field. $300,000 is the purse. Nakatomi, 2-1 on the morning line for trainer Wesley Ward. He is a rock-solid horse, but more importantly, he loves Keeneland. 3 for 3 on this surface.
Yeah, it seems like that maybe could play to his advantage here, Dan. I'm a fan of Nakatomi. I think he's pretty good. But man, this is a pretty wide open race. I thought there were several different horses you could make cases for in here.
A potential issue that Nakatomi might have to overcome is the pace. He likes to rally from mid-pack or a little farther behind. And we see in the Timeform US pace projector, they have him relatively close to the pace, but there really isn't a ton of speed in here. It's funny, the 7-run classic, the 10 long-range toddy, they're expected to be up front, and these are horses that are actually cutting back in distance.
Yeah, it's hard to, at least in my opinion, it's pretty hard to argue with this pace projector, though, Dan. I mean, I didn't really find a ton of speed in this race. I mean, obviously somebody's going to go forward in here, but they may not be going fast.
Maybe it'll be the number 1, Hoist the Gold, another horse that's cutting back in distance. He ran 4th in the mine shaft last time out, but he was at least on the lead that day and aggressively ridden as he stretched out. 3rd in the Malibu 2 starts back behind Taiba, who is a very good horse in his own right. He's sort of an in and outer, Mike. He doesn't win very often, but occasionally comes with a good effort at a good price.
Yeah, he's probably better sprinting too. So I guess he has that going for him, Dan. I think he's tactical enough to get the right kind of trip in this race, whether that's, right up close to the pace or maybe a little bit further off of it. I don't know. I mean, I can't say that I love any of his races, but he certainly tends to show up just about every single time. And I think he will be closer to the pace. That race 3 back where he was way far out of it, that was a wicked fast pace. And they're not going to be going like that in here.
And Nakatomi makes his 2nd start of the form cycle for Wesley Ward. We're going to watch his seasonal debut, the Grade 3 Tom Fool handicap. And the winner, Little Vic, just had a better trip than he does. And he just has more tactical speed than Nakatomi. He sat 3rd. Nakatomi sat far behind. Little Vic ran his race, and he got the jump on Nakatomi, turning for home. Nakatomi runs on late.
Yeah, he's forging on at the end of this race. He just can't make a serious late impact. But I like the way that he stayed on at the end here, Dan. All in all, for first start back from the layoff, he runs fine in this race. We already talked about how he likes Keeneland. Maybe he'll get a little bit of a better trip in this race, though. I think it's at least worth pointing out. I mean, the reason that he's usually pretty far away from the pace has a lot to do with his own habits in the gate, Dan. He never seems to break the gate sharply.
Get Her Number seems to fit very well with these horses from a class perspective. He was multiple Grade 1 placed last year, including a near miss in the Cigar Mile. And last time out in the San Carlos, maybe he was compromised in a race that just didn't have a lot of pace going on. 7 furlongs. Then with the opening quarter at Santa Anita in 22-3. Spirit of Makina is a pretty good horse in his own right. I believe he's unbeaten. Get Her Number forges on for 3rd. He's another horse, though, Mike. It'd be nice if there was something to set him up from the back.
Yeah, that's how I looked at him too. And I kind of feel like, Dan, when we get to the picks later, I didn't really give him enough credit because he's clearly a contender in this race. But man, this race, it feels like he's best when he can sort of sit and make one run. And that may not play that well in this field.
Up next is the 4, Heart Rhythm, who is stepping up in class off this allowance victory at Oaklawn Park. They cut him back to 6 furlongs over a sloppy track. You see Heart Rhythm. He's sort of in behind horses here. They weren't going very fast, a half mile in almost 46 seconds. Heart Rhythm, though, shoots through once he gets clear. He wins pretty easily. 93 Beyer speed figure. Puts him on sort of the bubble here, but he is the kind of horse, Mike, that must prove himself against graded stakes competition.
Exactly, Dan. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this horse's current form in particular. They claimed this horse for $100,000 late last year, and I do think he's improved for this trainer. Now they're going to step him up into a way tougher spot. So far, stakes races have just been a little bit too tough for him. They're going to try it again here.
The last time the number 5 Legionnaire stepped on dirt, it was a career-making performance, a 92 Beyer speed figure, going a 1-turn mile at Churchill Downs, and he looked very good winning that race. I have a feeling that this very underrated trainer used his most recent start over the synthetic at Turfway as merely a prep.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. And they're going to come back here in a pretty major race here at Keeneland, going 7 furlongs, which I think is actually going to be a good distance for him, Dan. He's got a lot of upside still. I feel like you're right that the last dirt race was a really good performance. I really liked the way that he won that race. Prior to that, it was turf and 2 turns on dirt, which doesn't kind of feel like his game. Off the layoff last year, second to Elite Power, and then a really nice win at Ellis in that sort of 1.5 turn kind of race. I thought he ran really well that day too. This is a horse who I feel like could take a huge step forward here.
And he has a really nice pedigree. He might finally be living up to it. He just may need a little bit of pace. We've said that about a couple of the others. He likes to run from mid-pack or so. Spankster is up next. This horse was fourth in the Whitmore last time out, going 3/4 of a mile from Mr. Lucas. A solid winner over Sloppy going 2 starts back. Probably needs to take a little bit of a step forward, although he earned a good fig 3 back.
Yeah, he did. I thought he actually thought he ran well 3 starts back, and then he came back and scored that victory over a sloppy track. I was a little disappointed in that effort last time, but listen, it was a little bit of a better field for him. He finds another tough spot in this race, but he does have a little bit of speed. That I won't be surprised if he pulls a good trip in this race.
I think turning back to 7 is going to be key for the 7 Run Classic. He's won his last 2 sprint starts. He really hasn't run a bad sprint, and he was fine last time out in the Grade 3 mine shaft. He was up close to the pace. He took over the lead with 3/8 of a mile to go, and he was punching on in the end. The runner-up came back to place in the New Orleans Classic with a 101 Beyer speed figure. But again, I like him cutting back. I like that he can get close to the pace. He's obviously in good form.
I like all those things too, Dan. It feels like the shorter distance is going to work for him. We'll see if he's going to be able to run another one. I mean, the last time they sprinted him, which was also over this track and distance, was a huge performance. We'll see if he's going to run another one of those. If he does, I suspect he wins.
Pro Occident appears to be getting good at the right time, and he's so lightly raced that we can still project some upside. He won his last 2 starts sprinting at the fairgrounds, both of them with Lasix. He will race without it on Saturday. Scored last time out in a pace-pressing effort against second-level allowance company. Didn't think he beat the best field, though.
I didn't either, and I wasn't really blown away by that performance, Dan. Either of those last 2 wins, actually. He's the kind of horse I really was trying to talk myself into. He's got a really nice pedigree, and I remember when he broke his maiden last summer going 7 at Churchill, I was really taken with that race. I thought he looked really good winning there. So he just felt like a horse to me who had a ton of potential. And while he's improved since then, I don't really love his last 2 wins. I think he's gonna have to improve again.
I wonder if the 9, Hear My Song, is a little bit dirtied up coming into this race. I know he's run well on synthetic in the past, but if you go back to his recent dirt form, it's pretty good. He was second to Mr. Wireless, who's a graded stakes caliber horse on his best day, 4 starts back. He just missed at Keeneland the race prior to that, and before that he was in very good form at both Churchill and Ellis Park. Recent races on synthetic, I know again he's run well on it in the past, but I think he might be more of a dirt horse at this point in his career.
Yeah, he might be. You're right. He could be a little dirtied up in this race. I had a tough time deciding what I wanted to do with him, Dan. I guess the bigger price he is, the more positive I could stay on him. I realized that his most recent dirt starts, they're all pretty good. I don't know if they necessarily make him, one of the major contenders in this race or not. Maybe they do. He's also another horse I don't feel like, especially when they sprint him, I don't really feel like he has a ton of early speed.
Long Range Toddy completes the field. He's a millionaire by virtue of his last win. The problem is you have to go back 4 years to his last win, a division of the Rebel. He came close to winning, however, last fall, and it was at Keeneland at a big price in the Phoenix Stakes, a race he only lost by a neck. Now he's cutting back in distance, second start of the form cycle. Look at the horses he was in against last time out, just a super key race. Last Samurai won the Essex with a 101 Beyer. West Will Power came back to win the New Orleans Classic with a 109. And of course, Law Professor won the Excelsior with a 98.
Yeah, it feels like they picked the wrong race to try to stretch him back out in distance last time, Dan. Now they're come back to sprinting. He did run well in the Phoenix, almost pulling off that upset. He also ran in this race last year and finished a pretty good second at 45-1. It seems like he likes this dirt course.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Commonwealth, going 7/8 at Keeneland. Mike, you're going with Legionnaire. Think he got a good prep last time out, turns back to 7, which has always been a good angle for us. Just hoping for a little bit of pace. You're getting the price.
Yeah, he's a big price in here. And I think this is a horse who has a good amount of potential going forward, Dan. It's not going to be easy for him to win here, but I really like his dirt form. I think this is the kind of race where If he gets a little lucky as far as trip goes, I think he can make some noise in here at a big price.
I like Run Classic turning back to 7, especially with his tactical speed. I think he was in against a slightly tougher group last time out. 5279 for Mike, 7231 for me. It's the Commonwealth on a huge afternoon of racing at Keeneland. Bluegrass Saturday. Good luck.